Violence and video games go together like jam on toast. This isn't to say that every game has to have extravagant levels of gore, but some of the more memorable titles in history haven't shied away from displaying utter bloodshed. Here are some of the most violent games that you should play because sometimes there's a lot of fun to be had amidst all the crimson rain. Gears of War. We're not going to say that dismembering enemies with chainsaw bayonets or giving them into smithereens is socially responsible, but this is Gears of War, and those are Locust, and honestly with such visceral action and a post-apocalyptic premise, it's hard to say no. Mortal Kombat X. The king of violent fighting games, Mortal Kombat X upped the ante with its fatalities significantly. Don't get us wrong, there is a compelling combat system along with plenty of content to explore, but there's just something satisfyingly ridiculous about Cassie Cage smashing someone's jaw off and taking a selfie of it. Ninja Gaiden 2. Speaking of dismemberment and high-octane violence, Ninja Gaiden 2 takes it to a whole new level. It's ridiculous how furious and frantic the action can get, but the gore only further pushes players through the difficult gameplay. Bloodborne. Yharnam isn't a place for heroes, and as a hunter, you're far from one. Kill the various demons and otherworldly creatures with an extendable butcher blade, blow them to smithereens, or simply die to your enemy's raging attacks. This is a From Software game after all. Until Dawn. Much like the B-grade horror films that inspire it, Supermassive's Until Dawn doesn't shy away from the gore. Main cast characters can just as easily lose their heads as they can their legs and guts. Don't worry though, it only adds to the weight of the decision making and brevity of the situations on display. The Darkness 2. There are very few rules to follow in gaming, but we guess that not making Jackie Estacado, the protagonist of The Darkness 2, angry is one of them. With demonic extensions that impale enemies, generate black holes, and create shadowy bugs to dissect foes, The Darkness 2 is as extravagantly violent as they come. God of War 3. There's no murder party like a Pantheon murder party. God of War 3 is the explosive climax to Kratos' war against Zeus and Olympus, and the grisly Spartan murders all in his path. Stick a finger or two in Poseidon's eye, rip off Hermes' legs, pull Apollo's head from his body. There's a great action hack-and-slash title here, but the violence does go overboard at times. Hotline Miami. A retro 80s infused soundtrack meets a hallucinogenic psychotic romp down the rabbit hole in Hotline Miami. Best described as Drive, but with more killing, Hotline Miami's top-down action is a rush to experience, especially when a single mistake can cause you to restart. If you like hurting people, then you'll like Hotline Miami and its sequel. Dead Space 2. Dead Space 2 gives new meaning to crossing your heart, hoping to die, and sticking a needle in your eye. The series has always been renowned for its death animations, but Dead Space 2 further ups the ante with its horrific scale and storytelling. Bulletstorm. Ever kicked a man into a cactus? How about sticking a grenade to his legs, propelling him into the air, and splattering his bits all over the ozone layer? People Can Fly's Bulletstorm gave new meaning to violent shooters by combining a heavy arcade feel with fast action and creative kills. Seriously, play it today. It's an underrated classic. Sniper Elite. How can a game about sniping be gory? 2 words: X-ray kills. In Sniper Elite, it's possible for the camera to follow the path of your bullet and display an X-ray of your target's flesh and bone shattering from the slow motion impact. Who says the industry can't put graphical innovation to good use? Shadow Warrior. Flying Wildhog Shadow Warrior is as bloody and irreverent as its original namesake, but it features some amazing swordplay all the same. Parry your enemies with a katana and somewhat surgically remove their limbs. There are so many violent possibilities for dismemberment, you'll wonder why you never went to med school. Manhunt. Manhunt isn't your typically violent game. Unlike Rockstar's bombastic GTA, Manhunt takes a more visceral approach to its violence with painful executions and stealth kills. Its story of a death row prisoner murdering gang members for a snuff film director's amusement isn't exactly sunshine and rainbows either. Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. Violence in Lord of the Rings? No way! Unlike the films, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor emphasizes the utter brutality of its killing from the get-go when Talion's wife and son are taken from him. From there, it's all orc stabbing, burning, and so on until revenge is had. Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein has always been a controversial game, right from its early MS-DOS murder spree to the recent Wolfenstein: The New Order and The Old Blood. As a single-player shooter, it allows you to reduce enemies to mincemeat with shotguns. That's all the incentive we need, honestly. Spec Ops: The Line. Spec Ops: The Line is decidedly more realistic than the other games on this list with its violence. That doesn't mean it can't horrify you, especially in a latter game event involving white phosphorus. There are so few violent games whose stories have stuck with us throughout history, and Spec Ops: The Line's descent into the heart of darkness is one of them. What violent games in this decade have you enjoyed? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time.